Hey y'all, welcome to Remote Viewing Investigations with Jessica. I'm your host, Jessica Jones. We'll be peering through the veil to shed light on mysterious cases from all over the world. We invite you to join us on this magnificent journey through space and time to try to unravel these mysteries. Please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, share this out, and subscribe to Texas Front Porch and to my channel, The Cryptid Huntress, on YouTube. You can find us on Odyssey Radio and iHeartRadio and can contact us at Texas Front Porch on Facebook or email us at paracryptidencounters@gmail.com and oracleofthesouth@gmail.com. You can reach us through text at 972-559-0988. If you'd like to support us in what we do here, our super chats are open. Thanks and enjoy the show. Hey y'all, welcome in tonight. I'm Jessica, your host at Remote Viewing Investigations with Jessica. I have a really fun, cool remote viewing target that we're going to be talking about tonight, and it involves the Bell Witch. Okay, and I've got my friend Bigfoot Michigan Rob here tonight. I'm going to bring him up in just a little bit, and we're going to go over my data because I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about the Bell Witch, okay, out in Tennessee, and some of y'all might have even been to the location, and word has it that if you go there and pick up a rock or a pebble and you take it home, you're going to be cursed, right? Okay, so it sounds like it's kind of a tragic story. I didn't know a whole lot about the Bell Witch case at all, but I had seen a show. I think Ghost Adventures had gone there at some point to the cave, and I remembered it from that, and I thought, man, this would be a great thing to look into. So I'm going to give everybody a little history of the Bell Witch, and then I'm going to bring Rob up, and then we're going to start going over some data. Okay, so thank everybody for being here tonight. Okay. So the Bell Witch case is one of the most well-known hauntings in U.S. history. All right. In the early 1800s in Tennessee, the Bell family experienced violent poltergeist activity that was so strange that it caught the attention of a future U.S. president. It said that the Bell family was cursed by old Kate Batts. Okay. A neighbor who on her deathbed claimed she would haunt John Bell for cheating her in a land dispute. The Bells were tormented for years by a malicious spirit, allegedly. From screams and scratches to physical assaults and poltergeist activity. The haunting was so well known that people traveled for hundreds of miles to witness the activity. General Andrew Jackson heard of the haunting and took a trip with his team to investigate, encountering supernatural events along the way. And once they got there, after many years, the witch allegedly took the life of John Bell, enacting the revenge that she had promised so long ago. Okay, so sounds really juicy, right? Sounds something I thought that maybe we could look into a little bit. And so yes, I did a couple of remote viewing targets. And before we start with the data tonight, if anyone would like to look at my raw data, which is all of my remote viewing targets, everything that came out of the matrix and everything I wrote down on paper, you guys are welcome to go subscribe to my Patreon and become a member. And it's a very low membership fee. And for the entire month, you get all of my raw data and videos and extras that I put in there. And and you can help solve some of life's mysteries with me. Okay. And the link to that should be below in the description box to this show tonight. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and bring Rob up. Bigfoot Michigan Rob is here from Texas Front Porch and Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Hey, Rob.
Hello, Jessica.
Thanks for being here.
No problem. It's going to be exciting. I read up a little bit about it, and it's really weird. I was reading on this, and man, it's like, I'll let you get into it because I don't want to give away anything. I don't know where you're going, but when I heard Bell Witch, I'm thinking like a physical being, right? But all these hauntings was not even a physical person.
Yeah, there was no person, but there were voices. Okay, there was all sorts of poltergeist activity. And, I know from experience that that stuff's real. I know that poltergeist activity is very real. Psychokinetic phenomenon is very real. I actually was sitting in my bedroom one. I wasn't sitting, I was sleeping actually. And I woke up thinking that my cat was moving a vase across my table. And I screamed at my cat, Mayu, stop it. And the vase went flying off the table and levitated in the air for a couple of seconds. And then it dropped to the ground. And it wasn't my cat. Okay. My cat was actually asleep across the room. So I know this stuff's real. Now, what causes it? It could be a person's energy can cause that kind of stuff. Okay. And it sounds a little crazy, but trust me, y'all, it happened. Okay. So I want to go through some of this stuff that happened. Where did Jessica go here? Hey, there I am.
Yeah, there you are.
Okay. I'm back, everybody. Okay.
Somehow we switched seats.
We did.
Randy,
we did.
How did that happen, Randy? Our backstage
I don't know.
producer.
It's paranormal. We're talking about PK.
Yeah. Oh
okay.
my God, that's weird.
All
That
right.
was really weird.
So, okay, Rob. So in 1817, John Bell encountered something really, really weird. All right. He was out in his cornfield, and in between the corn rows was a rabbit faced dog creature. Okay. Now, let me see. I think I have some pictures that I can pull up. Now, this is not the rabbit faced dog, but it looks like a donkey with a man's face, right? So, but these are some of the things that they claim they had seen, right? The whole family. Okay. So that night, John and his family were inside their home, and he didn't really think a whole lot about it. He shot at this thing several times, by the way. Okay, shot at it, and just kind of forgot about it. Was like, okay, it vanished. That was weird. They went in the house, and that night they were having dinner, and something started beating on the walls of their house. All right, the kids, the sons ran outside with the dad, and there was nothing there. All right, so they thought, well, that's kind of weird too, right? Well, at night, the kids started hearing what they thought were rats gnawing on their bedpost, and their blankets started getting ripped off their beds, and their pillows were thrown on the floor by an unseen force. All right. As time passed, they started hearing a mumbling sound, like an old lady's voice in the house. Now, you guys, this is all reportedly, okay, and this is what the family has passed down for years. This is the legend of what happened. Now, but the word spread. I didn't realize that this was a pretty wealthy family. I didn't know that until later today. I actually watched a little documentary tonight before the show, and it started making more sense. My data started making a lot more sense when I watched that documentary. So, but okay, so as time passed, they heard a woman's voice mumbling, and it got to be more clear as every day went by, and she started singing church hymns. Okay. And Betsy Bell was the smallest. She was the youngest daughter in the family, and she was getting the brunt of all of the activity, where she was getting slapped. Her hair was getting pulled. There was some point where her hair was tied around her bedpost when she woke up one night and got welts on her skin. John Bell, the father, vowed to keep all this a secret, but it started getting like way worse than they could imagine. I mean, it was just out of control. Okay. So he went and told one friend named James Johnson. And so Mr. Johnson and his wife came over and spent the night. And guess what? They got attacked. Okay. So the voice just kept getting more annoying and more loud and more scary, they said, and that she was singing hymns, quoting scriptures, having intelligent conversations. And, this kind of became a thing. I mean, the word got out, and you can imagine back then there wasn't a television, there was no radio. They didn't have anything but word of mouth. And so word spread, and people were traveling for hundreds of miles to come check out what's going on. Okay. Word spread to Nashville, and General Andrew Jackson heard about it, who was a future president.
Our $50 bill.
Yeah. Yeah. So he heard about it and was like, man, I know the Bells. The sons were actually they fought in the Battle of New Orleans under General Jackson. And so he was like, well, let's go check this out. And he took a crew of men with him. One of them claimed to be a witch hunter. Okay. And he had a gun with silver bullets, and he was actually planning on killing a witch. Okay, because they'd heard there was a witch there. So yeah, that's like a whole other era. Okay, I haven't gotten into my data yet, you guys. I can tell you in my data, the Andrew Jackson stuff did not come out. It did not show up. I did not look into it further. Okay. So this is stuff that's not going to be in my data, but I'll tell you what happened when Andrew Jackson came to their house. Okay. So they were on their way to the Bell's home and they started having supernatural activity happening, or what they thought was supernatural. Um, they were almost to the Bell's house and their wagon got caught in the mud. It got stuck in the mud and the horses could not move, and the horses could not be coaxed to pull the wagon out of the mud, the dry mud bed, riverbed. And so they heard a shrill voice, okay, that came out of the bushes. They said that said something about, you gentlemen can proceed and I will see y'all tonight, or something like that.
Yeah.
And the buggy started moving again. Okay. Well, they got to the Bell's house and the men set up camp in the front yard. They put their tents up. Andrew Jackson stayed in the house that night and with the family. And all night, those men got attacked. It felt like they were being pricked with pins in their backsides. Okay. And yeah, they were getting physically attacked all night. And so they begged Andrew Jackson to leave. They didn't want to stay there that night. That night, allegedly, Betsy got attacked while Andrew Jackson was there, and his blankets got ripped off of him that night. Okay. Yeah, so interesting stuff that happened. Now we're going to fast forward a little bit. Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
I was just going to say too that when I was doing some reading on this, even the men, because they were fighting, I think, the British or something in New Orleans, yes. Jackson, and I believe that the men in his regiment, they wanted nothing to do with. They'd rather fought the British and whatever this supposed Bell Witch was, just some unknown force they couldn't even see. That's how badly they were spooked.
They were. Well, yeah, and there's some documentation here that people have written in books about Andrew Jackson showing up at the property, and there's actually pictures from a book of his wagon being stuck in the mud and the fellas trying to push it out with the horses. Yeah. But they say that there's no historical record of it in any kind of historical, any of Andrew Jackson's diaries. Right. Okay, there's none of that, so it's all kind of it was kind of up in the air as to whether any of this ever even happened, really. But the locals said it was real. The family says it happened. And but I can tell you this part didn't come out in my data. It doesn't mean it didn't happen though. Okay.
Sure.
Because it was a big deal. It was a very big deal. And especially for hundreds of people to come hundreds of miles to come see this activity, that's kind of a big deal. So the activity, they said, kind of stopped going after Betsy. Betsy is the youngest daughter, right? She was getting the brunt of the activity. When she called off an engagement to a fella that apparently the ghost didn't like very much. Okay. And so when she called off her engagement to him, the attacks started getting worse on John Bell, the father. Well, there was no person, just a voice, vowed to kill him. He started having seizures and his face started twitching a lot and he couldn't swallow. Okay. Anytime he tried to stand up, his shoes would come flying off his feet, reportedly, and something would slap his face. Okay. By 1820, his health had failed and he was confined to the house. And you could hear a woman's voice shrieking all over the farm, saying, "Old Jack Bell," like really loud, they said. And then on December 19th, 1820, he fell into a coma. And by the next day, he died. All right. Well, wow. The story goes, the family found a vial of black liquid in the pantry, okay, in the cupboard. And it was in a smoky little bottle and they didn't know what it was. They'd not been there before. And they took it and put a drop of it in the cat's mouth and the cat died immediately. And so the son threw the bottle in the fireplace and it a blue flame came out of it and it went flying up into the chimney. Okay.
And
So
they don't know where this vial of alleged poison
a
came from either, right?
vial. They said they had no idea where it came from. Now, the funeral took place. Okay. And like I said, I had no idea this family was wealthy. They came from North Carolina, and they had, he was actually a slave owner. Okay. Which actually makes my data make more sense. Knowing what I know now is that he was a slave owner. And it was one of the largest funeral that Robertson County, Tennessee had ever seen. Okay. There were 3 preachers who eulogized him. And as the mourners left the graveyard, a voice laughed and sang a song about a bottle of brandy. Okay.
Yeah.
And the voice didn't stop singing until the last person left the cemetery. So you have to imagine that's a lot of people hearing that,
That's,
right?
I mean, that's just so creepy. Of course, that's how many people go to a funeral. But the thing
Yeah.
that really scares me throughout this whole event is like, it's just voices. It's just, creepy
Yeah.
singing songs. I mean, whatever's going on. And yeah, that had to go on forever. Can you imagine being at a funeral with this singing of this creepy song about,
Oh,
brandy in the background? I mean, I'd imagine half the people left prior to the ceremony even ended.
exactly. I mean, I don't know. It's just interesting that we don't hear a whole lot of stories today about hearing voices like that, you know?
Yeah, and
Um, yeah.
like I asked you earlier when you talk about the Bell Witch, I'm already thinking it's something physical, right? And
Right. Me
just to
too.
hear that it was just something from beyond, is really, really creepy. I think I'd rather see something than not see it, to be honest. And they both would be scary.
It is well, I've experienced ghosts before, okay?
Mhm.
And I've seen ghosts. I've seen them. I have seen orbs. I have seen transparent, apparitions. I've seen solid ghosts, people who have passed over that look just like they're in human form.
Oh wow.
Okay, I've seen all sorts of different stuff, and but I've never just. Well, I can't say that I've never actually, because there was one time where I did. I was down at my farm, my family's farm one night, and there was a voice. It wasn't actually a voice. It was somebody whistling, and it sounded like the type of whistling that my grandmother used to do. Like this beautiful. It sounded like I call it like a bird chirping whistle or something. It was just beautiful.
Yep.
But there was nobody there. I was there by myself, and there was somebody whistling from behind the house. And let me tell you, it
Oh
was
wow.
creepy. It was very creepy. And I didn't stay there very long after that. And I figured there was somebody there creeping around. And but later on, I was doing a ghost box session, and a voice came through and said that was me whistling.
Oh wow.
So it was actually a spirit. It was actually a spirit that was doing that. So there are different explanations, right? There people over the years have tried to explain this away. All right. So people said, well, it could have been a hoax, right? Could have been a hoax perpetrated by Richard Powell, the school teacher of Betsy Bell and Joshua Gardner. Joshua Gardner was Betsy's boyfriend, and that's the guy
Yeah.
that the witch could not stand, right? So, and Betsy was in love with him, and it just makes sense. Like, it could be her school teacher who had a crush on her, who I read somewhere. I don't know if this is true. I can't back this up, but I did read that he was a ventriloquist. So
Oh
I don't know. I bet ventriloquism was pretty popular back then, considering they didn't
yeah.
have televisions.
It does kind of line up, doesn't it? Fit the narrative there. I mean, it sounds
It
like a
does.
sounds like a cheesy soap opera.
It's so bad. It is, but
And
it's it's
go
it's,
ahead,
it's
Jess.
interesting. It adds another layer to it, though, right? So
And
yeah, it definitely adds another layer.
and
But yeah, go
and
ahead,
do you?
Rob.
And I was reading somewhere too. Do you think this land, the property where the bells? Now I don't know this how far back this Bell Witch goes. You have that data or that information perhaps,
Mhm.
but was there a point in time where actually somebody, not the Bell Witch or a person, I forgot the name of the person I was reading up on, had actually cast a spell on that property?
Yeah, Absolutely. We're about to get there because
Oh, okay.
let me
Sorry.
tell you, that was, yeah, that happened. That actually happened. And that's, when in the very beginning, I'd mentioned that there was a woman who was mad because she'd been in a land dispute with John Bell.
Okay.
She was also a very wealthy woman. I did not know that until right before the show tonight. She was pretty wealthy and she was a slave owner as well. A matter of fact, she had never went anywhere without 3 slaves by her side. Okay. 3 people that worked for her. Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah. Okay. So, okay. So the hoax. Let's finish this, and then we're going to move on to the
Yeah.
curse. Okay, because
I didn't mean to
that's a big
jump
deal.
ahead. I just yeah.
Oh no, that's wonderful. I'm glad. Okay, we're really going to talk about that. That's a big component to this whole story. Okay, so he was deeply. Okay, teacher fell deeply in love with Betsy. Okay, I think he was married though. I'm just going to say, when he was teaching her, but yeah. So people thought that he was pranking, tricking, playing tricks on the family and had several accomplices, and that he was creating effects of the ghost to scare Gardner away, the boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, Gardner was the target of a lot of the witches taunting the boyfriend. And he eventually did break up with Betsy and left the area. It's never been satisfactorily explained how he achieved all these effects because um, how was Andrew Jackson's wagon stopped like that? And was he hiding in a bush? Did he just know that he was going to get stuck in the mud? So there was somebody hiding in a bush. I mean, those soldiers would have seen somebody hiding in a bush. Those are
For sure.
soldiers,
Yeah.
those are some badass soldiers too, by the way, I'm sure. But in the end, that teacher did end up marrying Betsy Bell. Okay. So he did win in the end. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go to some of the data because, yeah, this woman, what was her name? Let's see. The lady who was, and I think this is where they get the term bat crap crazy from. I'm just going to say,
You're right.
I'm not going to say the actual word, but it starts with the SH. Okay.
Right.
Bat. So she was a little crazy. Okay. And she on her deathbed had said, I'm going to curse you because, you cheated me in this land deal or whatever. Like she was really, really mad. And she swore that she was going to be the death of John Bell. Okay. Yep. So I'm just going to go ahead and get into my data right now. Okay. Because, I was sure this was going to be like, oh, this is somebody playing a joke. It has to be. This is just a human playing a joke. But then again, I was like, but I also know that hauntings are real, so I go in without any kind of, just any kind of, I try not to think about it too much, when I go into this. So the first stuff that I got was they had built their land on Native American sacred land. Okay. So the Native Americans had already had a lot of stuff going on this land. And what do we know from the movie Poltergeist? Y'all know it's not a good idea to build a house on top of a graveyard and all that kind of stuff. But, and I'm not saying that didn't come up in my data, but in my data, it said the land had been cursed by the former inhabitants. Okay. And I got the art of war. I don't know what that's about, but the art of war came up. And the fact that there was a very ancient old energy on that property that was laying dormant. Okay. There was some kind of ancient energy, which I understand. And I know for a fact that stuff's real. Okay. Yeah. So there's an ancient energy there. All right. Then my data went to an energy was conjured by a person who dabbled in witchcraft and spells. Okay. So that would make sense that old Kate Batts lady had perhaps really put a spell on him, maybe so. I did not realize that she had slaves and was a slave owner. And historically, you watch these movies and you read these books, and a lot of times, the people who were the slaves on the plantations and whatnot were into voodoo and Santeria, right? Yeah. And she didn't have those 3, slaves by her side everywhere she went. So perhaps she was having them put spells on people, or maybe she knew how to put spells on people. But the data says there was something like I said Ouija board, but they didn't actually have Ouija boards back then. That's a trademark name, I believe. Okay. they had talking boards, and it's used for divination. And before anybody gets their panties in a wad, let me go ahead and tell y'all, talking boards have been around since 500 BC with the Chinese. Okay, the Chinese used I don't know what they called them, but it was an instrument for divination and to talk to the dead. Okay, so this goes back way, way farther than I ever imagined. Okay, so yeah, they use instruments to talk to the dead, probably pendulums and things like that too. So, okay, so that the lady, okay, somebody cursed the land. So the land, yeah, the land was cursed. Okay, and their bloodline was cursed as well. Okay, so whoever did the cursing cursed the entire bloodline of the family. Okay, and I believe that little documentary that I watched tonight, someone had said, well, we think maybe they were cursed or something. Yes, my data said they were absolutely cursed. Okay, absolutely cursed, and it had to do with voodoo. All right, voodoo.
So,
Voodoo kept coming up in my data. Okay, everybody, so it had something to do with that.
So, like when you mentioned native land too, but native, I wouldn't associate that with like voodoo, right? That's a total different culture, correct?
Total different. Yeah, it's a little different, but it's still hexing and curses and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's ancient. I mean, every culture has something like that, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think it was probably a combination of a whole bunch of stuff, if y'all want my honest opinion. Okay.
Right.
I think it was a combination of a whole bunch of cursing. And I don't know what this man did to make everybody so mad. But
yeah, right.
sometimes you don't have to do anything. I mean, you just speak your mind and people try to put a curse on you. So, and that's another thing, not to get all spiritual on everybody, but people do this, you guys, in case y'all didn't know that. People try to put curses on other people. And that's why you got to keep your vibration high, everybody. Keep your vibration high so nothing touches you. Okay. That's just my little 2 cents. Okay. So the home was inundated with high strangeness. This was in my data. So the things that the family experienced, right? It came up in my data. So I can confirm that these things happen. Malicious attacks. They were held down in their beds, zapped, jabbed, poked, and terrorized. It led the family to want to kill themselves. Mental attacks. Yeah, that was what I guess the curse was to try to send mental attacks to them, and that's kind of what worked. A lot of the family was feeling like they wanted. It was kind of. I did get a little suicidal vibe going on. Okay, unfortunately, because I think they were really terrorized and tormented. Okay. Yeah. So they were actually really terrorized. This really happened. They saw orbs and lights, and not only it didn't stay in their house, but orbs and lights. Okay, their floorboards would creak, and they would have sound like somebody was walking around their house, and something was tapping, and they heard a lot of voices, and the beds moved, and their sheets were ripped off, and they would call on their ancestors and angels to protect them. Okay, that was all in my data. All right. So that's nothing real, profound, right? No. It's just that's typical.
It's kind of what you hear day to day. Hear it every day.
Exactly.
We talk about it every day.
Yeah. I mean, that's just stuff. It just happens in a haunted house, right? So,
yeah.
Okay. But all right. So that was okay. So I didn't even pull this up, you guys. That was my first target. I'm going to read my target to y'all so you can hear it. Okay, describe the phenomenon behind the mysterious attacks on the Bell family of Robertson County, Tennessee in the 19th century, known as the Bell Witch. Okay, so we just went over my data from that. It's pretty basic, and I've still got some more data for that. Okay, I do have more data. I have a lot more, but you have to subscribe to my Patreon if you want the raw data. Okay, some of it was kind of out there. A couple of the things that were on there, if I were to bring that up tonight, we would go down a whole other rabbit hole. So. Yeah. It was a bit much. And I know remote viewing is a little out there for a lot of people. So, and to bring up my data would be even more out there. Okay. So, we're just going to go over the basics. Now I did a second target. Okay. Because I wanted to know what happened to John Bell. John Bell allegedly, was poisoned to death. Right. And so my second target was describe the circumstances behind the cause of death of John Bell on December 20th, 1820. In Robertson County, Tennessee. Okay. So my data came back. This is the Cliff Notes version, y'all. He was beaten down emotionally and physically. He was in a low vibration. It ultimately did cause his death, him being stressed out. It was stress. Okay, stress caused his bad health. He was very stressed out. He ended up having a heart attack, and it said that he fell outside and succumbed to his injuries, and he was not poisoned. My data specifically said nothing about poison at all. And I have a lot of data on this. There was no poison. And I actually ended up asking, did John die from poisoning? And it said no. No, there was no poison.
Wow.
So, which leads us to question, is this all just legend? Rob, is it just stuff that did somebody get the diary of the family and write a book and embellish a little bit about what happened? Because we know that there was something really weird happened.
Yeah. And two, was there, even like you made mention earlier about that jar, that poison though was in the home, correct? I mean,
Yeah, they said it was in the cupboard.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's a tangible piece of evidence, right? And nobody knows where this came from.
And then they destroyed it so fast, right? So that,
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have crime scene investigators back then, I don't guess.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And if they even did, I mean, they don't. I've had to deal with some crimes, and they didn't come take fingerprints. Like they really don't care. To be honest, some law enforcement stuff, they're just like, oh well, oh poison, that's cute. Put it in a bag. Maybe we'll look at it later. So yeah, I mean, and back then, pretty much anything could happen and be, and we don't know the extent of the investigations to all this, and there's no record of it other than hearsay and what people wrote in books, okay, and diaries and things like that. So we don't really know, but I can tell you my data said he was not poisoned and he did die of a heart attack. So I can only imagine after being terrorized for so long,
I think
it would hurt you.
It would play some havoc on your internal organs, especially this has gone on. And from what I gather from you, this went on all the time. I mean, maybe not every day, 24/7, but
yeah. Well, I think it ramped up and it died down and then ramp up, just depending upon like who was there and what they were doing. And sometimes the voice was nice. Sometimes it was horrible, and yeah, it's interesting that we don't hear about just a voice talking, when it comes to haunts.
It's very interesting. And it's very interesting too, Jessica, because I believe that there was a curse cast on this land, correct, from way back when.
Mhm.
Simply because, and I just don't say this because that's just my opinion. I in fact, long story short, my brother bought one of his first houses. He found out later it was on a Native American burial ground.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Where Native
Poltergeist vibes.
Yeah. Where Native Americans were actually slaughtered by the white man.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's where they died. And I'm not going to get into this, but my brother's house was haunted because his little daughter, I would see apparitions in the house of a little girl at night. And she would speak to this little girl in her playroom. And her mom saw her talking to her.
Wow.
Didn't see her talking to an apparition, but she named her Jenny. She had long dark hair, darker skin. He goes, Mommy, every time you come in the room, Jenny takes off. And she says that she died here many, many years ago.
Wow.
So my brother, it's a better story than I just said because this is your show and stuff. But yeah, so that's what I'm just saying. I believe in that stuff because I've seen the ghost. My mom's seen it, my brother, my sister. And
yeah.
So yeah, I think it's more factual. This story of the Bell Witch is more of a factual than opinion or lore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, okay. So that brings up a really good point, Rob. They were seeing ghosts, and the young girl Betsy had claimed that she had seen a little girl in a green dress swinging from a tree at some point. And there were pictures drawn of it. Let's see if I pulled one up. Now, this is one of the animals. It was like it looks like a donkey with the man's face. We already brought that one up. But there were other pictures that I don't think I uploaded. Maybe this is one. Oh, this is when John died and they fed the poor cat the poison. Okay. That poor cat. Not cool, not cool at all. But
Mm,
but there were multiple, chimeras. Chimera came up in my data, by the way. You guys know what a chimera is.
mm,
That is a hybrid, like a human animal hybrid, from what I understand. Okay, so chimera came up, and the fact that this voice and this entity, whatever it was portraying itself as an old lady, as Kate, and it actually said that it was Kate, but in my data, it was saying that it was an entity pretending to be Kate. Okay.
wow.
So it was demonic, basically. I was getting it was a demonic ancient type energy. And I say demonic because I don't like to label things like demonic or evil,
Yeah.
but it was just a negative entity energy. Okay. And it was pretending to be Kate. When people would
Mm,
ask its name, it would say Kate.
wow.
Isn't that weird?
That's real weird. This whole subject is weird when we get into, when you talk about rituals and spells and voodoo. It's like, and do you think, because you would know this more than I would, do you think, like, let's say that a spell was cast for
Mhm.
centuries and it went from the bloodline? Is that something you can't break? Is that hard to break? Or do you have to
Mhm.
literally find another witch or voodoo priest or whatever the case may be to reverse
Yeah.
that? Or is that something you're doomed with?
Well, first of all, you have to realize that you are cursed, okay, and that there is a curse. And from what I understand is that this is getting spiritual on everybody, okay?
Right.
Y'all don't think I'm too crazy here, but from what I understand is that I believe in reincarnation personally, and I believe that we all come here with a purpose, and some people are chosen to come into this earth at a certain time to break generational curses. All right,
Yeah.
and they're chosen people, and those people are they're they have a tough life, okay, and so but they're chosen by their ancestors because they know they're the toughest of the tough, okay, in the spirit world, and so
Yeah.
they come in and break these curses. Now it's not easy, and there are there's just dark forces, and there's always that duality. You always have
Yeah.
to have the bad with the good and the good with the bad and everything. And yes, um, it's basically a battle against good against evil. Is what all this is, okay? And I'm not saying that the bells are good and the voodoo people are bad or anything. I'm not saying I don't know. I don't know who the good people are. John Bell owned slaves, and I know back then it was, it is what it is. It was part of the history, unfortunately, and I know there were a lot of people that didn't like him. Probably, I know if I was one of those people, I would not like him. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yes, there were probably plenty of curses being put on him and his family. Um,
So, yeah, because I asked you that question simply because I made mention of the ghost at my brother's home, and this is like maybe 15 years ago, and it was a brand new subdivision, and then they found out, of course, it was a burial ground from the ancient peoples or Native
mhm.
Americans. And do you know what happened though? As time went on, that entire community, people all started moving out, and in fact, and the houses wouldn't sell. And reading in the newspaper back when the newspaper was something that you bought every day, right? It was alleged
Yeah.
ghost activity there. And I'm just wondering why nobody. I'm just wondering for myself if I could, because that those homes are still there, and you could buy a house right over there for dirt cheap to even today. So I'm just
Yeah.
wondering. So I'm just wondering why, if you could bring up somebody over there and like cleanse it, right? Like
Oh,
if I was a
yeah.
realtor, like if I were to buy all this up for me personally, is what I'm getting at, right? and then and then cleanse it and put it on the market. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
so that can be done.
Well, you can cleanse it, but now we're talking about a very ancient energy, and that's not going anywhere, in my
Right.
opinion. Now, if you have like just a normal haunt, I believe this is my belief, and I'm not saying I'm right, okay?
Yeah.
But my belief is a normal everyday haunt, like Aunt Edna, hanging out
Yeah.
in the back bedroom,
Yeah. Right.
opening and closing drawers all night and turning lights on. You can
Yeah.
send her to the light. Okay, you can
Yeah.
definitely send her
Okay.
to the light, and I think that with a lot of cleansing and a lot of prayers, yes, you can you can move those energies out of there. Okay. There are certain things that you can do that people who are, especially people who are trained, can really learn to, they can get the energies out and move them along. Take them somewhere else, send them to the neighbor's house. I'm just
So,
kidding.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I like that's cool. And so, in other words, this property is an ancient energy. It's
Yes.
a graveyard. It's just too powerful. It's not going to overcome it. It's probably going to be
Yeah.
doomed as a ghost town
I don't
for
know. According to my data, it said it was ancient. And so
yeah,
it's a little different. And something was conjured up. Okay. According to my
yeah,
data, yes, I said it was voodoo. I said it was cursed. Someone conjured something up on purpose.
right.
And it awakened the energy. Okay. Uh-oh. I hope my computer didn't just freeze up there. Am I
No, you're good.
frozen?
No, you're
Am I
good.
frozen? Okay. Sorry, y'all. I've been having internet issues. So if I freeze up, I hope my face didn't look too messed up. Okay.
No, I didn't
So,
even notice.
okay.
I heard a
All
little
right.
glitch in the background.
I did too. Okay.
I
So, but yeah, it was something was conjured, and that's why they had all that activity. All right. But yeah, I don't know. I do ghost hunting and things like that, but I'm always really careful about protecting myself before I go out. And I even sage my house today. I have to sage every time I do a remote viewing target because
yeah, no,
you start
absolutely.
intertwining your energy with those things that you're viewing. And
Yeah.
I don't want no voodoo on me. You know what I'm saying? So I did a deep cleansing today, and yeah, and that's what the bell should have done as well. But I don't guess they knew to do that. But yeah,
And that's
interesting,
just
right?
yeah, that's just safe practice too, right? I mean, every time you do this, you could, so even if you're doing an investigation such as this, so then you can get, it could have attached to you as well, right? So you do always
Yeah.
have to be careful what you're doing.
Oh yeah. Anything can attach to just about anybody. You just really have to keep your vibration high. Which, by the way, if anybody's wondering what I mean by that, it's live a happy life. Like try to be on a high vibration, like energetically. Have your energy high as much as you can, because that's going to keep anything from attaching onto you. It's not always going to keep everything from attaching onto you. You have to do other things to protect your energy, but our energy is our biggest commodity, and it's very important that we protect it at all costs. And so that's what happened to John Bell. He didn't have proper cleansing rituals or something. I don't know. He didn't know better, and that's the thing. When you don't know better, you can't do better because you don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened with him.
So let me ask you, have you looked up into like today, like 2022, is that property in existence today? Is that people, do they live there today? Is there still anything going on there?
Yeah. Actually, yes. Okay. So let's see if I've got some pictures. They have the Bell property. Okay. They have their land has a cave on it. Okay. And so a lot of people go there for as a tourist. And they say that cave is cursed as well. Okay. And
Wow.
I do remember seeing this on, I think it was Ghost Adventures. They went there and did an episode on the Bell Witch Cave because that's how I heard about it. And that thing's haunted. Okay. And it's got a lot of Native American history behind it. And yeah, I don't know if
So
anybody actually
what was
lives
that?
there.
Was that a picture of the actual house from back, or the
These are
property, I
their
should say?
houses. Yeah, that was the on the property there. So I don't know if those were their
That
kids'
kind of,
houses or what. This
that
was
is
the
kind of
actual
creepy.
house.
Ugh.
Yeah, this was the house, and that's Betsy Bill. She
Yeah.
looks like the witch, though, right? I
She
would have mistaken
certainly,
her for the
yeah.
witch. She's the lunatic. No, I'm just kidding. She's that was Betsy, and this is the tombstone. Apparently, there was a smaller family cemetery they were built or they were buried at, and the marker disappeared. This was a tourist place. Everybody wanted to come see this haunted spot, and as a matter of fact, let's see. I guess I didn't upload the picture of the historical marker. They have historical markers there. I mean, this is actually in U.S. history. Okay,
Mhm.
this is one of the only actual cases of a haunting that is in our history books. Okay, it was
Okay. Yeah.
actually on record. So, yeah, but people go there to this day, and I think that I did mention that the land is still cursed. And when people take a little rock or a little pebble off of this property and take it home, they're in danger of having a wreck, of dying, of losing their spouse, kids, all this stuff. I mean, people have horror stories from taking a little piece of a rock or a pebble from that cave.
Yeah, I mean that's even crazy too. You could just be not even take anything from there. You could be walking and you can get a pebble caught in your shoe, the bottom of your sole, right? And you walk
Oh
that
God.
walking it.
Yes.
I mean that's like you could have a million little rocks under in your in your shoes.
You
I
know
mean
what?
that's
I
just
think,
not,
yeah, I would wear a hazmat suit if I'm there
you know,
and a
it's
shower
interesting.
cap.
I tell you, since I've been, I just wear a full body rubber.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Full body rub.
you know,
Oh
but
my
no,
gosh.
but on a serious note, though, that's
Yeah.
why I love doing what we all do. But I got to stay away from I have things in my house I had, and
Yeah.
that stuff today. 20 years ago, it didn't scare me. Today, I'm actually like, I'm just worried I'm going to catch something because of, you know what I'm saying? It's just, to me, that's terrifies me more so than
Yeah.
seeing my Sasquatch,
I mean, I know it's like as if we don't have enough stuff to worry about, you know. And I'm one of those people that really likes to take a piece of quartz from every place that I investigate, because you guys know I'm a Bigfoot field researcher, and so everywhere we go to investigate, and when I go out in the field, I usually come home with a nice piece of quartz rock for my son, and so I have a collection of every place I've been, and I would never take a piece from the Bell Witch property, by the way.
Yeah, hell no.
But because those things hold energy, and maybe I should double think that. Maybe I should rethink that. Not bring home any more rocks. Thank you. Yes.
You know, that's
But
just,
yeah, the little documentary that I watched tonight. The guy was saying that somebody frantically came back to the cave and they had shut down for the day, and the guy said, "I've got to come in. I've got to come in. I've got to take this rock back." It's like, I came here and visited last night or yesterday or over the weekend. And he said, I had this rock. He was like, I went home and my wife left me. I went to work on Monday and I lost my job.
oh, God.
And then I lost my apartment. Lost his apartment all the same while.
Oh,
And he absolutely blamed it on the Bell Witch in that little pebble right there. So yeah, it's almost like the stone tape theory. Are you familiar with that, Rob?
I never heard that.
Okay, the stone tape theory, I believe. Uh-oh, I hope I didn't freeze up again.
No,
Yeah,
you're good.
the stone tape theory is it's the theory that the land and the rocks contain energy, and they hold on to that energy, and it's almost like it can replay the energy of that land. Like if there had been land disputes with the Native Americans there, there's going to be that emotion still in the ground and in the energy there, because it's all kept within the rocks and the sediment in the ground, or even in a house. That's why houses can be haunted, and have residual energy, residual haunts. So yeah, it's very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. And you need to get your house exercise sometimes. And and I'm sure the Bell property, I wouldn't be surprised if I'd say it's been cleansed before, but you also got to think there's also the opposite of people wanting to go there and do rituals, secretly doing, like Satanists and things like that, or just people wanting to do rituals to try to conjure the dead and
And
conjure the
even,
witch, right?
and even, right, absolutely. And even it goes back to even what you just made mention of earlier. If this is like an ancient curse, I don't think it ever would go away. It's too much energy, right?
I think so. Yeah, I don't think it'd ever go away. Yeah. Um,
I would even think that if you're in your home, if you had one little apparition in your home and you cleansed it, you put down whatever you put down, the sage, was that sage? What is it? What they
Sage.
use?
Oh yeah, I sage.
Yeah. You
Absolutely.
know, yeah, I think you still would probably have to do that as a maintenance thing, really, if you were haunted
Yes.
once.
Yes, you always have to. I absolutely, especially if you have a haunted house, always sage, always cleanse. I mean, bring a medicine man in, bring someone in to help you. You don't have to do this alone. And in the spiritual world, the spirit world is way more vast and strong and more complex than we could ever know in a lot of ways. It's complex, but it's also simple. It's as simple as banishing something and saying a prayer and commanding that it leaves. Okay. So, but
Absolutely.
then again, you have these ancient energies just like the bells had. So,
Yes.
yeah. But yeah, gosh, this has been an interesting conversation, right, Rob?
It's been awesome. It's already it's blown by already. Jeez, oh Pete's.
It's
And
already it's almost time to cut, everybody, and I know this has been a crazy fast, conversation that we've had, but I think
it seems like
we
we
packed
just
a punch.
started.
It
Seems
does.
like we just started.
Well, I'd say we could keep going, but we have to take a break, but it's up to you, Rob. I think we got all the information out there
I
for the
think
most
we
part.
got it covered. It's pretty good. Before we
Yeah.
go, I like to promote the Alabama Bigfoot Conference. I just got a text from Tex to put that out there. June 10th, 11th, and 12th. Tex, Jason, and myself will be speaking there. The lovely Jessica might even show up and sign a few autographs, and you
Autographs.
can always see Jessica Friday. Yeah, what time? At 9 Eastern.
At
Texas Front.
9, yeah.
Yeah, 9 in East. Texas Front Porch, 6:30 Central. Jason McLean questions everything. That is 10 in the East, 9 Central. My show, Brunch with Bigfoot, Mr. Rob, 12 noon. And of course, Miss Jessica, once again, with her great show. Fascinating
Yes.
stuff, Jessica. Loved it.
Thank you. And you guys be sure to get your tickets. Next weekend is the Georgia Bigfoot Conference. So go to georgiabigfootconference.org and meet me in Clayton. I'm going to be speaking there. My friend Matthew Delph will be up there speaking with me. It's going to be a really good time. It'll be fun. A one-day event. It is Easter weekend, so you got to take that into account. But hey, y'all come see me. I might even be signing autographs. Just kidding.
No, you
I sign
should. Why
autographs.
not? I
That was
signed
a
many.
joke. That was a joke.
I've signed many an autograph as a different person now.
Okay. Oh
Now
yeah,
maybe,
Pawn Stars, right?
yeah, and maybe in
Oh
Alabama
my gosh.
I'll sign a couple BMRs. Who knows?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thanks,
I
everybody.
want your autograph. I'm
I'll
gonna
give
get
it
your
to you.
autograph. Okay.
I'll give it to you.
Okay.
Hey, everybody in chat, thanks. Everybody's listening later,
Yeah. Thank you,
tomorrow, whenever.
everybody. Yeah, thank y'all so much for tuning in. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Thank you for going on the remote viewing journey with Rob and I tonight. And I hope this helps. And I hope you learned something tonight because I know I did. All right.
I
I
sure
will.
did too.
Yeah, we'll see y'all next week. Y'all have a great weekend.
All right. Good night.
Bye.